Alright, everybody, welcome to another week of Game Wisdom Live. This is going to be for the week of April 15th, 2018. It's been a very crazy time this past week for myself, but before we get into that, please welcome back to the podcast my co-host and video game producer, Robert Leach.
Hey, everybody.
It's great to have you back, Rob. Are you done implementing the Josh box yet at 2K?
It's what's been causing us these late nights. We're almost done.
All right. SMA Day 2019, right?
Yeah, something like that.
But how have you been? It seems like it's been ages since we last spoke.
It does seem like it's been ages. I've been doing okay. Just super busy with the job. So, but yeah, it's good to have a little bit of breathing room to come back and do the show.
Yep, and it's great to have you back. I've been keeping everybody entertained with hour-and-a-half design talks, which they seem to mind, but my voice seems to die on me by the end of them.
Oh, well, I mean, you've got design talks, like, that's your thing. So if people aren't entertained by your design talks, I don't know what they're doing at Game Wisdom. So.
But yeah, it's certainly been a very interesting week around here, to say the least. So, we've hit over 3,000 subscribers on the channel. I think we're sitting at about 3,023 or 22 right now. So,
nice.
We're getting up there. I still need to think of some kind of 3,000 subscriber celebration. I was thinking about getting the Devil May Cry games and running through all three of them on stream for everybody. But if anyone has any suggestions, let me know in the comments. Let's see. Since I think we last spoke, things have been gearing up on my book idea. It's now over 20,000 words, so that draft I sent you over is like completely irrelevant at this point. And right now, I'm still reading over the contract to decide whether or not I want to go forward with a publisher or not. I was telling Rob this beforehand, but you go with a publisher, you sell the rights to the book. So what that means, of course, is, well, the copyright will be in my name. They own, the name, the content, and all that stuff. So it's a pretty big push to go that route. And it's one that has me kind of two minds, because I know that if I go with them, they're going to be able to do a lot more than what I can do on my own. But it also means that I don't own essentially the book that I write. I'm not going to own it. But I also know that the prestige of having a book can be worth more than just whatever money I'm going to earn from the book regardless.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call. Just remember that it's probably not your only book.
Well, we'll see what happens there. But I'm hoping to get things, either confirmed yes or confirmed no by the end of this week. So hopefully by the time we'll be sitting back here next Sunday, I'll have a definitive answer. Let's see, anything else going on? Oh, I did do one of my presentations. This one was a lot better than one I did the week before. They actually did advertising, so I had 15 teenagers all sitting around listening to me talk about virtual reality and Ready Player One. I think my favorite part of that presentation was I put up like the famous YouTubers about the whole idea of video gamers as celebrities, and everyone knew who they were immediately. I'm like, I'm not at that point yet. I don't know if I'll get there. I'm at 3,000. Someone said, "That's okay, Josh. You're getting there." I'm like, "Oh, that's all I need. I'm good."
Yep.
There we go. There's some positive reinforcement there.
Yes, absolutely.
Much better than El Gordo wanting me to suffer when playing the hard games. He wants me to go through Oddworld. He doesn't want me to be frustrated. He wants me to suffer. They're two different things. It's important to differentiate the two. I'm sure he should be showing up any second now. We'll see. But it went really well. I have one more for this season next month, and then I'm hoping that the fall season is going to be big, because I'm getting in touch with 2 more library systems around here, and hopefully everything will kind of coalesce into making September through November a very busy season.
Oh, for sure.
But other than that, I guess in terms of games play, have you had a chance to do anything on your end, Rob?
I've been no. I mean, basically what I've done in games played is I've been so just swamped. I work 6 days a week, like 12 hours a day, and so when I do have my days off, I have to zone out, and I just play Sims. That's all I've been doing. to kind of chill. But occasionally watching Dota.
No Planet Coaster?
No Planet Coaster, no,
Oh.
because yeah, just having a like getting into Planet Coaster is a lot more active than one might think because there's an awful lot of creative thought that goes into it and thinking and pondering. I just like I can't handle that right now, or I will be able to soon. Maybe today or next weekend. We'll
Yeah, I
see.
know.
We'll see.
I know the feeling there. I've been trying. There are a few games I've gone from press keys that are so involved that I just can't really sit down and play them. I got a message
Hmm.
from one developer of the game, 3030 Death War, which is like a 2D space sim kind of game. And
Nice.
it's just way too much for someone who has no experience with that genre to, again, just like jump into casually for 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, hey, Getter. I didn't want to seem like I was ignoring you at all. Good to see you again there.
One second, let me just turn off Discord there. I did get another game. Let me see.
Hey, El Gordo.
Oh, he just showed up as soon as I switch off. There it is. I got a press key for a very interesting game, 39 Days to Mars. It's a two-player co-op puzzle game. It's sort of like that game, what was it? Space Time Odyssey, a dangerous space time Odyssey. It was like a two-player, you fly a spaceship game that was released like 2 years ago. Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time. I think that's what it was called. So, 39 Days to Mars, it has a really great style. It looks great. There's just one very big problem. It's two-player local co-op, and that's the main way to play the game. If you try to play single player, you're controlling two characters on individual analog sticks. And I do not have the dexterity to do that. And it's going to be very telling to see how that game does. Because again, local co-op is a very big risk, I think, these days.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it
Uh,
reminds me of the old Lost Vikings,
mm-hmm.
where you had the three characters to control, and you could do it with one guy, but it was very difficult. When I see speedruns of that game, I see one guy in particular will take two controllers and put them, back to back, and
Mm-hmm.
then play two characters at the same time like that.
Oh,
It's
man.
if nothing else, it makes for very interesting speedruns. So, but yeah, I think two-player local co-op sounds. Um, that's just not how people play anymore. Not
No.
really.
Nah, I don't think I'll ever be able to do two controllers at the same time. They did that for a Miss Explosion Man. I could never do that. Let's see. But yeah, interesting to see what that one's doing. I did get a press key for a game I'm really excited about, Tower of Time. It's a RPG with plausible real time, which I know can be very tricky to do right, but it's kind of handled in a way that the characters are pretty much self-reliant, and you can just stop to issue commands. And I'm really liking what I'm seeing with it. I think I'm going to try and test it out tonight on the stream to see if there's interest in doing a full Let's Play on it. Because it seems like this is not the... There hasn't been a lot of games coming out lately.
Yeah, I really can't speak to that in particular, but having occasionally popped into your channel and not seen a lot of a lot of discussion about new games,
Mm-hmm.
it's telling.
Yeah, I know God of War just came out this past week. That's been getting rave reviews, but I haven't been able to buy a new AAA game in a while. I'm still working on Breath of the Wild, folks. I'm about halfway done it, so we'll see what happens when I actually get that game finished. I did go through a Super Mario Odyssey. I don't know. I did not like that game as much.
I saw that was one comment I saw is that you gave a little teaser of people might not like what I have to say about it or something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yeah,
I'm interested. I'm interested to know.
yep, the review is up on Game Wisdom. I don't know if I'm gonna make a separate video on it, but it just did not work for me as much as Galaxy or 3D World. Let me see what's going on here. Yeah, so been playing Tower of Time. I tried a few CCGs out. Triplicity, Prismata. I went back to Slay the Spire for a little bit. I'm really liking that one despite not being able to beat that game yet. And it's still in early access, so hopefully it's going to wrap up soon. Let's see, when is it scheduled to come out?
So you planning on beating it before it comes out? Is that your challenge?
Yeah. Or at least get one win out of the books. We've been working on it for 4 to 8 months, and it came out in November. So I think they've gone over, or they're going to be going over their time soon. So we'll see what happens. Well, I'm really excited about that one. Dead Cells is actually almost done, and that's one that I definitely want to do a full play of on the stream. Yeah, that's true, Gary. They haven't announced the third character, which means another, essentially, deck of cards to mess around with in that game. I did a play last night off recording where I took the characters known for poison. I switched it up to use. She has this ability where she can summon dirks that she can throw at people or daggers. They're weak, but they cost 0 cards. So basically, I stacked cards that would generate them. So every turn, it's like flinging daggers at people for free. And it's one of the things I really love about CCG design is how black and white it can be in terms of card abilities, and it really sets itself up for those really powerful synergies.
Yeah, it's an interesting genre. I have to catch up a lot in my CCG game playing and knowledge, but it is an interesting genre to play.
And we did, I think, I'm not sure what podcast is going to go up this week. One of the people I've spoken to, they're having a small game coming out in a few days. Either it's this week or next, so I may time the podcast for that. But in terms of the big ones, I don't know what I'm up to. I know we just did the Burn of Command one last week, which was really great. I think this may be the one with the guy from Duelist, or that may still be like another week or two out. Again, I've done so many podcasts, I've completely lost track of them all.
You have done a few. How many of you? How many? What's your number of podcasts so far?
It's gotta be over like 400 or 500 podcasts at this point. We're talking career-wise. If I've done, 4 months, and I've been doing this now for over 6 years, there's a whole lot there. Let me see. I did send out emails to, we're going to try to get Alexis Kennedy on, who's doing Cultist Simulator. I'm going to be talking to the CEO of Linden Labs this week for a recorded cast. We're going to talk about Second Life and designing the economy system there. I reached out to Ramin again, so that's another 3-hour podcast easily once I get him back on. And I did send another email to Oddworld Inhabitants after we did a play of New and Tasty last night. I would love to get Lauren Lanning on to have who knows how long of a discussion there about, just the state of Oddworld and what they've been doing for the last decade. Or, I'm sorry, more than a decade at this point of them just disappearing.
That would be interesting.
I did reach out to John Schaefer, who's still working on At the Gates. I'm going to try to get him on, because I've been really wanting to follow with him. He kind of disappeared for 2 years, and now he just came back a few months ago to get back to work on At the Gates. We all pray they finish a quintology. Yeah, who knows when that's going to happen. What was the other guy? Zach Barth. Again, I sent out a lot of emails to people, so hoping to get more back. There's one other person that I reached out to, and I can't remember their name. Lauren Lanning? No, it's not coming to me. Maybe it will pop up over the next few minutes. One thing that you missed, Rob, was I've been doing my vlogs there in different parts of my house. So now I've been using my smartphone and like a little lapel mic, so now people can see more of my home. So it's not just me sitting here for all the videos.
Yeah, that's cool. I was thinking myself of moving outside of my little cloffice here at some point.
Yeah, so I think people are liking the fact that they can actually see more of my house, and it also means I'm not wearing these for when I'm doing the vlogs.
Oh man, I don't have your video up right now. Cannot see. I'm blind. Hold on. Let's just go over. I got to see now. Okay, what were you talking about? You got a point again.
That I can now record. I'm not wearing my headset anymore, so now people
Oh,
can.
gotcha. Like these giant little
Mm-hmm.
things here. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
It was nice doing that on my couch. So I have a little pillow I can just like rest on. So now I can just get into various lounging positions and talk game design.
I'll use a hat. There you go. It's a big old sombrero.
I may have one
Some
of
kind
those
of
around
gardener's
here.
hats.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, maybe I can get people to send me hats. That could be a new Patreon incentive. Give me $20 and you can send me a hat, and I'll wear for the month. Or I'll just wear random hats for each
You're gonna
thing.
get a you're gonna get a baby's bonnet,
Mm-hmm.
an aviator cap.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get like a hat. You know, just like hats on top of hats there.
The branding potential is real. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we should get a game with some hat print on that. I could wear that. The Adventure
Yeah,
Time. Yeah.
and I was just gonna say, like, you're gonna have a tie-in to Mario just instantly. So you gotta watch yourself if you don't like Mario.
Oh yeah. A top hat. What were some of those hats? Mechanic's hat. Can you get like a Wario hat? I know. I get a hat with like a little J on it. I don't know what colors it would be though. We'll let people figure that one out. Wear plush. There we go. I could get some of my little figures or those little dolls. Go wear them on my head. Surprisingly, we'll see more hat related. Some Nintendo really should have done like a whole hat promotion for Super Mario Odyssey. Hat amiibos. Put the
Yeah,
hat on your head and you unlock something new in game.
get the cardboard hat. You know, get your own like in-game Mario hat with the cardboard stuff.
Speaking of which, 5 days away from this recording, the Nintendo Labo's coming out. So who the heck knows how that's going to do?
It's a crapshoot. It really is. I'm sitting here. Is it going to be another Power Glove, or is it going to be something like better than that? I don't know, like a Wiimote or whatever accessories that they've had that have actually done well.
Who knows at this point? But yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a whole. I just want to get a message. Buy these hats, get taken over by a vengeful spirit. Ask your parents. Yes, things got. If you look too closely at Mario Odyssey, that is a very deeply disturbing game. We could get some Dark Souls stuff. Oh, that reminds me of a funny story I gotta say after this. But yeah, with the whole Nintendo Labo thing, again, who knows what's going to happen with that? What was I about to say? I just lost my train of thought between the spirits and Jim Sterling. It completely wrecked my thought there. Vengeful spirits are sold in loot boxes. There we go. You never know which one you're going to open up. This was I guess I'll get to the story. When I was doing my presentation about VR, we were talking about the uses of it, and also we got into the idea of aversion therapy. So it's like, yeah, we could use it to pretend you're touching bugs or, falling out of an airplane. And someone said, I could use it to get over my fear of punching through glass. And like everyone in the room just stopped. Like, yeah, I'm afraid. What if I ever have to punch through glass? It's gonna hurt. But maybe the therapy. And I'm like, this presentation just got really dark. I don't know what happened here, but it just got dark in here. And that's got caught up on the recording too. So that's gonna be fun when I send that over to them.
I think punching through glass is going to hurt no matter what.
Yeah. I don't know, Rob, but it seems like wherever I go, these conversations get very dark and disturbing. Like, I can't seem to help it.
Well, I mean, maybe you should look inwardly and find out what darkness lies within.
I don't swear or curse, folks. We just have very deeply existential horror discussions. So is that better or worse? Who knows?
I think it's the best, honestly. It's my favorite things to have this subtly dark stuff appear out of nowhere.
Yeah. See, folks, we don't need to swear or say misogynistic or racist things. We just haunt your soul for the rest of the day. We just make you question yourself and what real life is.
I'm gonna go cry now. I feel
Exactly.
depressed.
You're gonna huddle up into a ball in the corner there. Just apply darkness. I need to think, speaking about darkness, we did one on the Darkness 2 last week, which I really like going back to that game. But I'm running out of ideas for the Dissecting Designs, Rob. I need more games to be able to pitch me to cover.
What if you branched into tabletops?
Oh, that's I don't have any tabletop games around here. I need
Oh wow.
developers to send me stuff. If Sandy Pearson is watching this right now, send me Cthulhu Wars, and I can mess around with that. Now that I have my smartphone installed, now I can put it set up on all my massive tables. So maybe I could do tabletop games. I just don't have anyone around here to play them with. That's the only problem.
That is the eternal problem of board games is no one around to play them with you.
Analyze the existential depths of solitaire. We could just have an hour-long topic of me playing solitaire and just questioning what reality is. Minesweeper and death. That snake game and existentialism. We could do that too. What's that snake game called? Is it just called Snake? When you're
just called Snake.
See?
Eating apples or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Just so... I'm sure there's a popular opening on YouTube for someone to talk about existential reality and terror while playing video games. I'm sure that will be my new niche going forward, Rob.
That sounds good. I mean, you got to go back to the old games where it's all about... it's just all pixels and nothing's realistic, so it's just all interpretation of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So interpreting what Pac-Man does, and there was a game called a ripoff of Pac-Man that was an alien-based game. I don't know if you ever played that on Atari. That in itself was kind of horrifying to me as a child, but hey.
And I'm sure that will bring in the kids to the Game Wisdom YouTube channel. Come, kids, watch a guy talk about whether or not life is really worth living and playing video games. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Kicking down walls. I could get Wayne June. Maybe I could get him to narrate along with me when we play these games. Again, we're really bringing in the youth demographic here on the Game Wisdom channel.
And El Gordo, he needed the power pellets to conquer his fears.
Or they're just drugs, and this is all just a massive hallucination of him. Or it's bath salts, and it makes him go and become a cannibal and eats the ghosts.
Well, then you got Super Pac-Man, or Professor Pac-Man. Those are weird. They get weird.
Mm-hmm. This is just a really great conversation we're having right now, aren't we? I think only like 3 or 4 people are watching, so we're not making it too horrific there. But when this gets recorded, we'll see what happens. It's a guy to eat. Man, what is going on here? I would love to get Wayne June on. I just don't know if we can ever get him now that he's big and famous. That would be great, though. I would just get him on just to like record like a 10-second like a blur for Game Wisdom that we could play before every video. That would be perfect. Just something like disturbingly like Lovecraftian. Perfect. And I sent the person who was writing up like a little jingle for the podcast. I told him I would like something more mysterious. So that would be perfect as well. Just get them all together, and nobody will know what the heck is going on when they turn into Game Wisdom. Is this a video game channel? Is this a philosophical descent into madness? Who knows?
That you could say about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the Food Network or a philosophical descent into madness?
There we go. Nobody better steal that for their marketing. Oh man, we've talked to a few marketers as well. I should ask them what kind of potential strategy is there about existential horror in the youth market, in the 10 to 15 tween field. Do they like that?
That's a weird. I actually really want to know that. I have nieces that are getting to that age, so but I don't know anything about kids these days. Not a thing.
Ask them if they want to learn about Nietzsche and existential terror, Rob. I'm sure they'll be all ears for that. What was I about to say besides getting off of a horror edginess or veganism? what was I about to say? Oh, speaking about trying to get popular again, I know I'm still haven't downloaded Fortnite. I've been trying to resist what everybody else is doing there.
I am right on. I'm trying so hard to resist, but at the same time, I really, really want to play it. So I'm going to break down soon. I guarantee it.
Well, maybe if you do it, I'll play with you. We can two old guys playing Fortnite together. We'll see how well we do.
That in itself is a show. Two old guys playing Fortnite.
Could be two old guys playing anything at this point.
That's true.
Yep. And that was a news piece we were going to bring up too. That I was just telling Rob about this, but Cliffy B or Cliff Blazewski, after Lawbreakers, which if you haven't heard, Rob, that game is all the way dead now. To give you give you a point of perspective, according to their server ratings, last week they had one person playing the game worldwide. That was it. That person must have felt really big, being the only the one there. So Lawbreakers is kaput. It's not going to be doing well. So they decided about 6 months ago, which was right around time Fortnite was taking over, to do their own battle royale. And I cannot think of the name of it. I posted it in the stream, and that's a really good person, Biffy C. I wonder if Biffy C is Cliffy B's evil twin. Just like I may have a Bosch Geiser somewhere out there.
I'm pretty sure what Gator's getting at is that it may be the evil twin, but I'm pretty sure he just put the mustache on himself.
Mm-hmm. Royal Heights. That's their game, yeah. And it took, as I said, about 5 months to make that game. And it is now out on Steam. Oh, no, it's Radical Heights, not Royal Heights. Although Royal Heights did bring it up on Steam. So it came out 5 days ago for early access. And they already ran into trouble on their very first day of coming out because they had a Founders Pack for $15, which gets you permanent cash boosts in a game where you can keep your cash across maps and buy weapons right at the start. So yeah, they had to back that up. And I'm sure if I bring that up to Ramin, he would probably just shake his head, and just quietly mutter to himself after that.
See, I think that kind of a talk would be your existential descent into madness beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
It's just loot boxes, micropayments, microtransactions, and just from there, it's nothing but down.
Yep.
Just
exactly. Oh, I thought of a new thing. Speaking about existential horror, I have a new idea of what I can do on these streams for a few minutes. Look at the craziness of games that are coming out. Because as you know, I get access to a few of the press sites, so I can see all the weird stuff that's coming out in the coming days. As a positive, though, Spy Party is finally coming out from Chris Hecker. Or, I'm sorry, it's coming out in early access. He's been working on that game for like 5 or 6 years now by himself. Thank you, Getter. It's always great when we get a Simpsons reference as well. Simpsons references and existential terror. It's the perfect intersection for our marketing. But while I'm pulling that up, yeah, so it came out and a lot of people are just like shaking their heads as to why. Why is this a thing, especially when it's trying to compete with again, Fortnite and PUBG.
It's that I mean, it's already started, right? You already have the dominant players, and now everybody else who's going to try to get in it's an uphill battle. So good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck. Like even PUBG, I feel like was that one that got there first, but Fortnite is the one that's just grabbed everybody.
Yeah.
Like every time I listen to a podcast that's based on the project I'm working on, and just people who are excited about it and that kind of thing. And they're all playing Fortnite, and the project I'm on is based on NBA 2K18. So like that kind of intersection is telling.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking right now at the games that are coming out, and again, it's just a list of some games that look interesting and some that just are like, what the heck am I playing here? So there's a game called Glory of the Self-Styled Die-Hard Girl. Okay. There is a game about running a furry bar. I'm not kidding. That's the actual pitch of it. Let's see. Hive Swipe Friend Sim? I don't know. And again, this could be a new thing. Just me looking in dread at the games that are being released right now or are coming out soon.
I think you should have like a little mini game at the end of your podcast, or sorry, not podcast, but like, yeah, anything, podcast or stream, where you say, okay, I'm going to list off a bunch of names of games. You tell me which one is fake.
Yep. I actually was thinking about that last night, too. Just, that could be another little fun thing. Oh, here's one. Spaghetti. Which I guess is supposed to be from that character from Tim and Eric's awesome show, Great Job. If you ever watched that. Let's see. What else is coming? AI Escort. Okay. And it's just talking about, again, the games trying to stand out. That it's just very hard to sometimes pick out the gems from the coal.
Yeah.
Who's in the box? It's like each page there's like one game that just stands out to me as, what the heck am I looking at here?
And that's good for them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They managed to stand out. That's usually worth a few sales.
Mm-hmm. At least for like the first week or so.
Yeah. As soon as people find out that it's terrible, then, well, I guess it depends how terrible, because that could also be good for you.
Yeah. What the heck? There's a game called Hungry Game Survive in a World of Predatory Fish. At least they're getting very specific about their name.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it is anymore, but I remember when the bubble was just getting close to bursting in the indie scene, it was just all the students coming up with really wacky, weird things. So I'm imagining it's still keeping along those lines. People just graduating from college, just coming up with something just a little weird and wacky, but not entirely polished. For example, one thing I did run across was actually it might have been on your channel actually. Someone talking about, yeah, I'm certain it was on your channel, that the SSX goat game or whatever. The horse SSX game, the horse snowboarding game. I'm sure it was on your channel. If not, I don't know where it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, basically, so you take like a goat simulator, right? And that game was, it was a clever idea. It was fun to a certain point, but just buggy as heck, and the guy never wanted to adjust it. This is the same thing. You're a horse on a snowboard, and you go down doing SSX stuff. But the difference is, it's basically on a track. You can't do anything. Nothing you do affects the outcome of the game. There's no value in points, really, which is an odd thing to say. And dying, apparently, is just random. So it's just a concept that is pitched as a funny game thing, like horse SSX simulator or something stupid like that. And it's shovelware. It really is. It's like, here's clever idea, buy it for that reason only, and see you later.
Mm-hmm. I just found a game called Call of War. And with that title, what would you think that title would be a game about? Call of War.
It sounds like it'd be a war game. some era of war game.
It's a
some strategy game.
It's apparently a turn-based like grand strategy game, but there's microtransactions involved in it. You can buy premium currency in a grand strategy game. Something about that's not working.
No.
Blonde Driver. Okay, that tells me a lot.
The microtransaction strategy game, it makes me think of like someone playing chess, and then for $20 they get another queen.
Mm-hmm.
No, what? I don't have enough money right now, but I think I can use a pawn right here.
$5 for extra spreadsheet tabs. There we go. That will certainly. That's like up with my idea of existential terror aimed at the tween market. I'm sure that will work really well. Oh my god, it's again, it is just disturbing what we're seeing here. Attack on Titan 2. There's another one of those games? Okay. I still haven't really watched too much of the anime either.
Oh, right. I really need to watch that. It's like it's been on my Netflix list for when did it come out on Netflix? It's been on that for that long, so.
There's a game called Organosphere, which is apparently a horror action adventure game. Okay. Again, somebody asked, I'm not sure it was on Discord or on one of the videos about.
Kimmy.
Oh, hey King. Playing with money, that's good. About the importance of naming your game. And I think a lot of developers could use some lessons about trying to get a name that sounds popular or sounds interesting, but also doesn't make someone go, what the hell is this all about?
Well, there's a bunch of strategies. I remember when we were playing with, sorry, not playing with, when we were, my partner and I, my business partner and I were doing publishing. The name of the game was very important. Like we focused on that. We said, because the suggested names of a lot of the guys were very complicated and long, and or they were super simplistic and could be anywhere. Like I want to call my game Adventure, like that kind of thing. It's like, well, there's a million things called Adventure, and if you ever Google Adventure, your game's never coming up to the top.
I just found a game on here, Puke Simulator. Is that simple enough for you? That's a real game, folks. It came out.
Is that on Steam?
I don't know. I didn't want to.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
it is.
Good.
It's $4. It has a very descriptive icon. Let's see here.
Oh, goody. While Rob is watching that, yeah, Attack on Titan, it seemed like that show had like 2 to 3 really good episodes and then like 10 to 15 episodes of filler. It was like up there with Naruto when they did their whole like filler thing. Mm-hmm. Exactly, King. Buy the season pass, choose your color. Gorgeous puke sounds is one of the marketing blurbs.
Really, it just looks like, I don't know. It doesn't look like there's any game here.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Grand Theft Auto if there was, if that's all you could do was get in a car.
Yeah, and what makes this be serious for a second, what makes this very scary is that you have legitimately great games or games that could be great kind of sandwiched in between the shaft there. Double Kick Heroes is coming out in a few days, I think, or it's going to be coming out on early access, and it's probably surrounded by these very weird ones as well.
I mean, there will always be. I mean, it's all shovelware, and a game like this is really just trying to call attention to itself as a clever grossness, just like that horse snowboarding game that I wish I could remember it, and I swear I saw it on your channel, but it could be a different channel I'm thinking of. It is. It's garbage, and it sucks because there are legitimate good games like you just said, and those are the distracting ones, and those distracting ones will often get someone's dollar, depending on their price point, just because, and cause someone to ignore something that might have a little bit more boring of a title, but might be exactly right up their alley. I feel like, fortunately, on Steam and PC gaming, you get slightly more discerning purchasers than on other like consoles, but it's still there. There's way more of the shovelware in PC than there are in consoles. So
I think I just found the next best one. The game's called What Are You Stupid?
What are you stupid? Like, what are you stupid? Is that the pronunciation, or
there's no
inflection, I should say?
There's no punctuation there. It's just called What Are You Stupid?
Yeah, it's got to be What Are You Stupid? And I see it there.
Anime
what wouldn't
girl
you do in the
or
John?
Bottle? What?
Oh, this one's that's 2 years old.
Mm.
It's exactly 2 years old. What Are You Stupid?
But it's on the new
2016.
release. What are they getting DLC? There's DLC to order, you stupid? Oh my god. Oh. I better stop reading this or it's going to just get way too depressing.
That's a whole segment, right? That's a whole segment. Let's check out the new games and see what we can say about them, because they are. This one seems like it might be interesting. I don't see. Wait, how much is it? Is it something I can even buy? What is going on here?
What kind of madness have we entered?
I don't know. Okay, available April 16th. Interesting, but it says release date April 16th. Oh, it says 2018. I thought it said 2016. My bad eyes, my old eyes. So it's brand new.
Okay. Oh man.
Oh, it's inspired by old comic stripes.
Okay then.
Typos in the description.
But as Getter said in chat, yeah, it's very hard to even look at a coming soon page because there's just too much stuff, and how you know what's going to be good and what's bad. Now, of course, people can click on those descriptions, but who's going to really sit there for a day and just clicking on every game to see whether or not it looks legitimate or not?
I mean, I'll go through periods like that. And that's the Steam Discovery queue I find is really good for that. But, after you've gone through the queue once, you're probably not going to go through again. I certainly will take several days before I even venture back there. It is reading all those descriptions, especially when people put a lot of words in there to try and make their game sound clever. It's not very cool. And Kingme, exactly, it hurts the rep of the platform. And but Steam's Steam, so they don't care if they're hurt. They don't care about any of that. They are the big game. They are the World of Warcraft of the PC game storefronts.
Yeah.
No one can take them down.
And this is also very nightmarish for indie developers as well. I mean, again, we've talked to many of them on here who've had trouble with marketing their game and trying to get it going. I mean, cases like The Darkest Dungeon or Undertale, or I'm trying to think of any other recent examples, they had to do a lot of work outside of Steam to be successful, rather than you can't just bank on Steam selling your game.
Oh, absolutely not. No, in fact, I'll say it. I mean, I say it all the time on the show. It's one of those things I feel that is my duty to impart this knowledge upon people. Like, you start selling, it's the hardest thing in the world when you're selling an indie game, because you have to early before you even finish the game. You have to bring in people from communities you're a part of or need to be a part of. Like, if you make a strategy game, if you know people in the strategy community, you should start bringing them in to help you with design and testing. Like, very, very early. You have to tell them your idea. You have to get that idea out there, even though people don't want to let go of it, and they want to keep it this secret little thing because it's so precious until the very moment it's released, and you can't really do that if you want a success.
Yep. Let me see. Well, and some as a quick segue into some interesting news, Shenmue and Shenmue 2 is finally going to be re-released on modern consoles and the PC.
Interesting.
It looks like they're gearing up with Shenmue 3 after their Kickstarter. And there's also going to be another classic Sega Genesis pack. And they're even doing a Sega Genesis Classic, similar to the NES and SNES Classics. So, definitely at least some good news on that front. Oh, if you didn't hear, I guess in terms of competitive news, they finally caught Billy Mitchell, the guy from King of Kong, for cheating.
Oh, right. Yeah, I heard about that.
So all his records have now been erased.
Oh my god. That just makes the King of Kong movie being just that much more enjoyable. You can now just really it's like hate on Billy Mitchell the whole time. He is the villain that he pretends not to be.
So we finally got the end of that story after how many years?
Oh, for you, Kingme, it happens during sales specifically. So like when you buy, you say, oh well, this game's 47 cents. Sure, why not? Yeah, and Getter, I agree with you. But yeah, it's a tough thing to do. Like, when I think since the bubble burst, towards Kingme's point, buying random games, there's too much good content out there. But it does happen, sadly. Well, maybe not sadly, because sometimes you depend on someone getting you your game just randomly.
Hmm. Or through like humble bundles as well.
Humble
They'll
bundle,
usually
yeah.
buy like the game they won, then they get 4 or 5 games they've never heard of, and they may just try it, at a whim.
Hmm.
But yeah, like for myself, I don't like these days, especially the work I'm doing. I can't just go on Steam one day and go, "Oh, I'm just gonna buy that game there." Completely sight unseen. I just have too much stuff to do.
Yeah, it is. It's because there's too many. There's too many games that not only that everybody seems to have a catalog that is way bigger than what they play.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, adding to that catalog is you just say, "Oh, I can't anymore. I just can't."
Mm-hmm. And it makes it that much harder to get people interested in a brand new game because you can't really. How do you trust a brand new developer? But it's again that catch-22. You need to be established to prove you're good. But if nobody's going to trust you to begin with, how do you get to that point of surviving?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, it's again we're getting back into the food analogies as well when it comes to this. But
I'm hungry.
yeah, me too. I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on this week. But I guess have you heard anything on your end, Rob?
Well, let's see. What is the date today? The
15th.
15th. Well, in 2 weeks, the game that I've been working on so hard is finally going to be. I mean, it's not publicly available per se. It's an esport, so it's an esport. Well, it's an esport version of 2K18. So NBA 2K18, I should say. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. I'm looking forward to it. That's
Okay.
all the news that I've got on my end since I've been so heads down the last 4 weeks.
Mm. I'm trying to
Uh,
think if there's any like big topics I want to get into. Again, the last 2 weeks have just been me like ranting about game design for an hour and a half and everybody enjoying it. Let me see. Do we have anything else or have I played anything this week? Hmm. I need an idea, Rob. Do you have anything to throw my way?
I don't. I mean, I already threw esports your way, so you don't seem to be into the esports yet.
No, not yet. Not a pro player around here. Huh.
Well, it's not about playing; it's about watching.
Nah.
That's the whole point.
Huh. That's a good point, Getter and Dragon. Steam Spy. Did you hear the news about that?
No, I've been seeing it pop up here in chat a little bit, but I'm very interested. Are they going away?
Well, Valve changed it so that all the profiles now have their games owned and their game stats being private. So Steam Spy can no longer pull that information. So they're effectively shut down, at least in the short run.
Hmm. Well, I mean that makes sense for Steam,
Hmm.
given all the Facebook stuff that's been happening. It makes sense.
But that is a very interesting thing because that could be, I guess, our final topic then about analytics when it comes to like this kind of stuff and how important they are or aren't they. Now, when we talk, for those of you who don't know, when we refer to analytics, we're referring to information like how long someone's played a video game for, what achievements they've gotten, what games people buy, stuff like that. And this information, depending upon who you talk to, can be of vital importance. I know Valve, most famously, was one of like the first big developers to talk about how they use analytics for Half-Life and some of their games. How far someone gets, how long do they spend at each individual section, stuff like that. And this information can be critical for developers, especially when it comes to play testing their games or just getting a reaction. Now, I guess from your role, Rob, as a video game producer, and when you're doing publishing and in Voyage, like, what did you track any metrics when it came to people playing the games that you were working on?
I mean, I love doing that, but at the same time, once the game is launched for an indie game of our scale, tracking it really was tough thing to do. You were mostly fixing bugs, and the tracking came in community, involvement and hearing what they had to say and fixing that stuff. So really, it wasn't about knowing, okay, who's getting this far. I mean, if there's a huge discrepancy, and I feel like using achievements to track that kind of stuff is a big deal, which should still be public, shouldn't it? I don't know.
I don't know.
On Steam, like X% of people got to this achievement and this achievement. So using that kind of thing to track how far people get in the game and where the big gates might be, that if there's a big discrepancy between like someone's a level 4 and someone's a level 5, and 90% of people have gotten to level 4 and 10% of people have gotten to level 5 and higher, then you might want to change something. But for someone of our size, it didn't matter. Now I know in the bigger companies, and this would never be a job that I would have necessarily. It's about, that kind of analytics is very important, and it goes mostly to the marketing team and the sales, and trickles down to the design, which we've all discussed in the past, is the benefits of that kind of thing. But no, it is certainly a very important part of the industry, and there are some people who are more able to take advantage of it than others. It's just yet another data point that is of questionable use, depending on who you are, I suppose.
Yeah. I know when it comes to the mobile scene, that analytics is, for a lot of companies, a very big deal because of their focus on microtransactions and monetization. Knowing, how much money a casual user spends versus a whale. What are people spending money on? What's the frequency? When do they spend it? I mean, I spoke to a company at Anodot, I think this was about a year and a half ago, who specializes in mobile analytics. And I spoke to their CEO and their head of marketing about what they feel, why these developers are so interested in that information. And again, it goes back to when I've spoken to developers like John Brieger and a few other about play testing and iteration, that you really don't want to operate blind when it comes to developing your game. And we can talk about things on both the small and the large scale, but small scale would be beta testing your game. How much people are enjoying my game. Do they like the controls? I made that post a few weeks ago about how to fail, like the kinds of failures when it comes to development. And one of the big signs is not having anyone look at your game, not getting that outside feedback.
Right.
And I'm sure you're probably aware, you probably ran developers like this, Rob. There are people out there who they will just do things completely blind. They don't care about marketing. They don't care about PR. They don't care about testing. They just want to make a game by themselves, and then they're surprised, if it fails or if it succeeds.
Right, and that is going a little towards what I was talking about just a few minutes ago. And I feel like, yes, if you want to do it that way, then treat the game as a hobby. Treat the game making process as a hobby, and then you release it, and whatever happens, who cares? You're just making it for fun. But chances are you actually want other people to play it. So yeah, exactly. Early on, the beta testing, I feel, serves multiple, reasons. Like, there's multiple reasons to do it. One is, yes, to get that early testing, get to see what people like about it and don't like about it. But also, you get people on board early, and they're going to help you sell the game later. Like, those are the two major things, the reasons that you do put your game out. Don't be so, as an indie developer, don't be so caught up in the, I don't want my idea to be stolen, because that's kind of a bad logic thing that a lot of people get caught up in. You absolutely have to. Yeah, if you're anti that, then you probably shouldn't be so surprised when your game doesn't do well. Hey, if you get lucky and you sell 1 million copies and no one's ever heard of you before, then great. That's like winning the lottery. It's very impossibly rare, and you should never depend on it.
You can't just, and we've said this before, you can't bank on these Hail Mary plays when it comes to running a business. Right. You can't just disappear and say, oh, I'm just going to bank on PewDiePie reviewing my game and gave me 1 million views, and that's my marketing campaign. It doesn't work like that. And I just want to announce for the folks watching, I put up the spreadsheet for the grab bag vote, and I figure I'm going to announce it here for the folks watching live, and then I'll make a separate video later for the folks watching recorded. But that way, just to get more people interested in that style or in that thing. But yeah, it goes back to, again, what I was thinking about with the whole book publishing as well. With the idea of, do I want to own this book 100% and take 100% of the risks? Or do I want to focus more on, a long-term brand with a publisher? And again, there are pros and cons for either approach. And trust me, I've been thinking about this for the last week and basically having three-way conversations with myself about it. And yet, it can be very, very stressful and very, very tough to think about giving up that control. And again, this is an any creative industry, because just as what I write is my brand, when you're making a video game, that's your brand as well. And to give that up, or again to show it to people, it can be very tough. And as we've said before, a lot of people have trouble accepting criticism. And there are people who, like, you tell them that I don't think your game plays well, there's somebody who say, well, you're just an idiot, I don't care about you. But then what happens when another 10 people, and then another 100, or your entire Steam forum is full of people saying, your game doesn't control well, why is it like this? And then what are you supposed to do then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is tough. It's one of those concepts that I feel like is so easy to say, but even saying it, I'm like, I can't possibly follow that all the time. And it's the illusion of control. Like, you don't really control when you have a product. You don't control what happens. It's the consumers who control what happens. It's ultimately the consumers who decide. And yeah, you can have a marketing team and millions of dollars to spend on it, but that also does not guarantee success. So holding on to something too tight, sometimes you just got to trust the world and just say, okay, well, maybe I can use help or whatever. I'm a very mixed feelings about publishers, even after having been one. I have very mixed feelings about it, but there are very good reasons to go with the publisher, and there are very bad reasons to go with the publisher. And there are very bad publishers, and there are very good ones, and it's a wide variety of why they're bad, why they're good, all that kind of stuff. And it's very difficult to weigh all that stuff, especially when you've been working on a project like you have for years. And it's a tough decision every time.
And I can tell right now that XP is not watching this live, because if he was, he would be typing up a few paragraphs on the subject of publishers, especially in the independent scene. Yeah. And I think that's true, Getter, about being able to resist or mitigate failure and just be able to survive. Like, you can't really do Hail Mary plays these days. Work on a game for 5 to 10 years. Again, we talk about the whole Cuphead example, but yeah, you can't bank on your game having that kind of success like Cuphead did. And again, a lot of that came from them being backed by Microsoft. And go ahead.
And I'd also say they're very unique, almost impossibly unique art style. Like, granted, it's based on a very old and well-known one, but hadn't really been touched in decades. So that was very eye-catching, and something that's eye-catching, as we talked about with those little shovelware, like clever name, clever concept games. They get attention, but that one had staying power. So.
Yep, and Gaming necessarily to go from exactly as well. Yeah, Gaslamp still hurts about how we lost that studio. And again, nothing is really guaranteed. I know that scares a lot of people, but the problem is, it's one of those things that I think it's the whole hindsight is 2020, that you can't really see the train wreck until after it's happened. And like with GasM, I did a video about Clockwork Empires, and I talked about how it's one of those things where I saw those problems, but I was just, fingers crossed that they were going to be able to pull out from under it. But they were never able to do that. And again, there's so much about game design that you'll really think about, whether you're a consumer or even a developer. You may think your brilliant idea is going to work, but how are you going to handle the marketing of it? How are you going to handle the development? Making sure everything stays on track. And even like with a studio like Gaslamp Games, they had a very successful first game. And then all that disappeared after the second game. Let's see. Yeah. And again, and I think this is one of the things we've talked about. I know you can probably agree as well, Rob, that when it comes to success in the game industry, a lot of it is just up in the air. You never know for sure how well a game's going to do. You can, of course, have like small ideas, my game's similar to Call of Duty and it pulls an X, maybe I can get a portion of that. But even that's not completely guaranteed.
No, none of it is, and it's forest needles. That's a very good way of describing it, Getter. It is. It's a tough business, and it's a fun business. It can be a fun business, I should say, but it is a business, and it's a tough one. And I really wish I could remember the fellow's name. He's a very smart guy, a games instructor, been around LA for a long time. I met him years ago in oh gosh, why can't I think of the name of the organization, IGDA meeting over here. And he said to me, and this is the one thing that rang true forever, is that one game does not a game company make.
I've said so that many times over too.
And when you have a hit, like that's what I mean. You have the one hit. Well, what we've discussed this a million times. What do you do then? And if you don't have a plan going in, well, I'm going to make this game, and then I'm going to make this game and this game. Well, then you just get to the end of the first one, you don't know what to do. So you might as well be planning out multiple products at the same time. And anyone who doesn't have a million ideas going into making a games company should probably not be doing that. But that seems like that's a rare thing, although I've run into it a few times now.
Yeah. And I think Getter had another point there about enduring. That's another big thing. Many studios don't necessarily have the protection to survive a flop. And you see this especially in the independent market, where one game does really well, and then the second game just fails completely, and now they're done. They can't really keep going. Like Arcan Games, again, we've talked about them many times over, but I've spoken to Chris Park about this, and he's gone on record saying that if AI Wars wasn't the success that it was, his company would have gone bankrupt 5 or 6 times over by now, because they've had major flops. And a lot of it is, again, about mitigating those risks. But most studios and most developers don't really think about this. And we've talked about this before, with this idea of the art versus the business. There are plenty of people out there who feel that they're divided, that you can't do one and the other at the same time. But you really have to be able to think about them both. And yeah. And yet, that's true as well, King, that one bad game sticks with a studio. And sometimes it's bad because the development just didn't work. But again, if you can't find someone who can, yeah. But like that's the thing. Like we've said this before, and I've spoken to many developers. The consumer doesn't care about the work that goes into a game. They don't care that your game was doing well, but then 5 months of work kind of fell out because, let's say, a programmer quit, or you couldn't figure out how to work this mechanic in, so you had to completely redo your engine. They don't care about that. They care about what they see on Steam or itch.io or PSN Store or whatever. And if they see a game that's bad, they're going to assume that you're bad as well with it.
Yeah, it is it's tough. And even PR issues can ruin you. But it's about enduring. It's about staying power. It's about being able to endure those bad moments. I mean, if it was just about one bad thing ruins you, well, then we wouldn't have EA or Activision at all. They'd be dead. Like there isn't a big company out there that wouldn't be dead if there was some kind of one-off bad PR thing. But yeah, for an indie, boy, that really does not help. Anything bad that happens to an indie does not help. You got to rebrand yourself or something along those lines. But you have to endure. You have to get through it. You have to, if you're really dedicated to being in this business, you got to look. That's going to happen. It's going to happen. My career is not been all roses. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I hate to say this because it's going to come out as being very mean, but I see a lot of independent developers who work on games for 2 to 3 years. It comes out, then they're shocked that like it's not a massive success or that it's not doing really well. And for those of you again who watch my videos and watch my plays, you know that I don't try to outwardly attack a game or outwardly attack a developer. But you can tell when I'm playing a game and I am just not enjoying it. And when I see developers like this who think that their game is the best thing ever. And why isn't it making, 100,000, 200,000 sales? I'm like, yeah, I've played your game. It really wasn't worth that. And that is very tough to say to someone, that I have played games where I don't see all the worth there to it. Like, for someone like me who's played so many titles, I'm not seeing why your game deserves more success than what it did. In some cases, what it did may even be less than 1,000 sales, and I know that's very hard to say, but again, with so many games coming out, it's becoming harder for the cream to rise to the top.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand. Like, and I know you had that same problems with at least one of our games. But it's one of those things where it's too many games out there. Don't be surprised when it fails. I would almost say expect it to fail. Expect the first game to just fail. Just know that you have to get past it and get to that second game. Like, yeah, it's like going in and buying a lotto ticket and expecting to be a millionaire the next day. It's just, it's not going to happen, and don't expect it to happen, and do whatever you can to just, be able to get through that part.
Yeah. King had a really good point there. Nintendo makes a really bad game Federation Force. They announced Metroid Prime 4. Everybody forgets about that one. When an independent developer makes a bad game, they have to change identities, get a name change, burn their fingerprints off with acid, and get a new life somewhere. Also, don't buy Halloween Lotto books from folks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. People forget bad Nintendo games. Nintendo has had a few of those stingers, especially. Oh, my eye just decided to go out of focus there. Especially like some of the Paper Mario games have not done so well lately. The one that I played that I own and I don't even remember anymore, Sticker Star Saga. I did not like that one at all. Well, that didn't stop me from buying Mario Galaxy 2 or Breath of the Wild. I mean, again, I think that's another big point. We've said this before about how hit-driven things are, but people like the big name studios, again, your Blizzards, your Nintendos, even stuff like Clay Entertainment these days, they have certainly gotten a reputation for themselves. When you're that big, you do get clout. And again, we've said this before about what is and what isn't an independent developer, but clout is a very big part of this industry. Again, like we've said this before, I know that whatever game Toby Fox, the creator of Undertale, whatever he's going to think about next, it's going to get covered by every major site and YouTuber. We just know that at that point. The same goes for Scott Cawthon of Five Nights at Freddy's. Because they have gotten that clout. Darkest Dungeon being another big example. I know that if Red Hook legitimately announces, Brightest Kittens is going to be their next sequel, people are going to buy that game. YouTubers are going to be begging to play that game early. And again, it's that feedback loop that either goes really, really up or really, really down. And it can either rise a studio up or kill them, and there's not much they can do about it.
Yeah, I think of it just like credit. You have your games credit, and if you're an indie without anything, you have no credit, and it's hard to get anything. And if you got bad credit, well, then you're dead. But then you build up enough, goodwill amongst your fans. You get enough good products out there, and you always come back with a good one if a bad one comes out.
Yeah. And Getter and Oscar said a really good point about Full Metal Fury. There you go, the makers from Rogue Legacy. And Rogue Legacy did really well. But and again, the idea was solid, but they screwed up again on PR and again on understanding how that market works. Very similar to, you missed this during one of my epic rants, Rob, but I talked about the game Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. It was a narrative game built around exploring Depression-era America. It had a lot of clout and PR built into it. Hold on. My voice decided to cut out there. The developer was on major sites. Polygon covered it. They got Sting to be one of the voice actors in the game.
Sheesh.
And it flopped seriously. And he did a post-mortem on it, and I read quotes from it on one of our previous talks. And again, it's one of those cases where reading what he thought, and what he did, it's like, no duh, this is why it failed. But as a developer, you're not really being able to see that. And it can be very hard sometimes to spot these warning signs. Like, the Titanic heading towards the glacier.
Yeah. I can only feel bad. Because you're right. When you're in the weeds, it's really hard to see. Yeah.
And again, when it comes to, like, this information that you need, we've, somehow we've gone so far off topic. We've entered, a Lovecraftian universe here that when you're trying to build a game, as you said, and you had a really good point earlier, Rob, that if you don't want to focus on the business side, then you're just really a hobbyist when it comes to the game industry. That the business side is vital, and you have to get this information. And I've said this many times over, but again, yes, there is no sure thing in the game industry, but there's a lot of things you can do to mitigate and hedge your risk or hedge your bet. Being able to do PR early, getting playtesters to see where your game's going. And it's very hard for a new developer to see all this stuff and catch these signs. Because again, as you just said, for the people in the weeds, they're not thinking about this. I am sure there are developers right now who are watching this, or who maybe never watch it, who are working on the game, and they're not thinking about PR. They're not thinking about doing playtesting. They're just thinking about how I get my game to work. And that is still a very important part. Yes, you do have to build your game, but if you want to make it succeed, you have to think more than just game development.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole PR side of things when it comes to the game industry. Yes, Lord British. I still say that if I ever do earn that amount of money, I would like to do what Richard Garriott did and buy my own castle. That was still that's my rich eccentric dream, Rob. That I will own Lord Bycerton of a castle in New Jersey. Hell, I could make it a Dark Souls thing. We have people staying outside guarding it. There we go. That's what I want. That would be my dream. We'll have a whole traps. Yeah, and that's another. I know they're talking about some of the whole SJW nonsense, but like something like Kingdom Come, that game, and even Subnautica got word about because someone on staff was saying, very misogynistic and I think racist things. And there are people who will immediately boycott a game because of that. But again, it's one of those cases of just how much were they really going to buy that game to begin with. And that Kingdom Come Deliverance, I know one of the developers of that is very polarized in terms of his thoughts and political beliefs, but the game still sold reasonably well. And again, as we've said, just because the press likes you, or a certain kind of press likes you, that doesn't translate into game sales, sadly.
Right.
And again, when it comes to a game like Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, I know XP was talking about this on Discord, that it got a lot of buzz from stuff like the New York Times, Polygon, and again, many sites who do promote, that strong focus of diversity. But, yeah, Oscar just said right there, asking for diversity's sake, it's not going to sell your game. People are going to talk about it, yes, but how many of those people are going to spend $30 to $50 on a game because it has all that stuff? And again, I've said this before, but asking a game to add diversity after release is just a fool's errand. Why should I? My game is done at this point. I mean, you can certainly ask and request it while it's been released, But once it's done, or once the developer has said their piece on the matter, that's kind of like, the story's over at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's what I do believe. It's one of those things that the endurance comes back into play.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this random stuff happens. Like, let's say your game doesn't have much diversity, and whether even let's just assume it's not even by design. It's just happened that way.
Yeah.
If you get targeted, that's kind of bad luck. It really kind of is. Like, there's nothing that is non-inclusive about the game. It just happened to come across like that. I'm sorry, just in terms of like your diversity in your game, just kind of came across like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you get called out and it gets published and whatever, then you got a bad roll of the die, and you got to endure that. Whatever you do, like, you can either jump in and try and appease everybody, or you can try and just move on to the next project. But yeah, that is just one of those things you got to endure and figure out how to improve on that, or whether or not it's like be more specific about why you're doing it that way, or just doing so differently in your next game. It's just one of those things, hurdles.
Yep, and Battle Brothers being a really good example. That when the game was originally designed, they built it to be sort of like that medieval simulator. So there weren't too many women fighting at that time. Or, again, if we're going to get into the whole history thing, that's another hour and a half. But after they started build the engine and started build kind of like the procedurally generated dialogue for it, they realized how much work it would do to add in the her or the they connotation for their system, and they figured it was just too much work. But there are people who, outright yelled at them and, said they're never going to buy the game because there aren't female characters in it. But they don't care about the gameplay or anything else there. And I think that's, again, where I kind of sit, that I don't buy games for political pushes or for statements. I buy them for the gameplay. If the meat isn't there, I don't care, what kind of sauce or dressings. Again, getting back to the food analogy, we better wrap this up sooner because I need to go eat something. But the point is that games that typically, again, focus on 100% on the beliefs or the cause, we really don't see strong gameplay from them. Somebody further up mentioned the game Sunset, and that was from the developer Tale of Tales. And they are infamous at this point for focusing on storytelling and making a political statement, or making a statement, as opposed to strong gameplay. And their games are again, they have a very polarized fan base because of that. There are people who love the Tale of Tale games, and there are people who just despise them for it. Have you played any of the games from Tale of Tales?
I have not.
If you want to see something freaky, look up, oh no, what was it? They made a game based off of Red Riding Hood, and The Path, I think that's what it was called.
Oh, okay, I remember The Path. I didn't play it. I remember it being out there.
Yeah, that one. And again, even their most gameplay heavy title, I'm not sure if it's on Steam anymore. It may be a different name now.
Oh, there it is. There's The Path. Yeah, it was on Steam, and now I guess it still is. Oh, it's old now. Sheesh.
Oh, yeah, there it is. The Path by Tale of Tales. Like, something like that. Like, the problem, though, is that even their most gameplay-centric title still had very little to it. And I think another thing that hurts is that people who try to sell some of these games, or the more artistic games, I know I've talked about this before, they're still selling them at the same price as a gameplay-heavy title. And again, am I going to spend $20 on a game like Gone Home? Or am I going to spend $20 on a game like Renowned Explorers, or XCOM, or Battle Brothers? I think we all know the answer to that one for the folks watching. But it's one of those things, and what's our time? Yeah, we're getting almost to an hour and a half, so we'll wrap things up in the next few minutes. But I have one other point I want to make after this. But my final thoughts on this is that there are people, like, you have to be really careful about your market. I think El Gordo said this earlier. Let me see. Where did he say it? Was it El Gordo? Uh, I can't find it now. I'm reading things too fast. King said it. It's like making an RPG for gamers that hate RPG gamers. Like, there are people who will only listen to their own political beliefs or their own circle of journalists. But the thing is that PR and playing video games, or the consumer side, is a very wide market. And just because, again, 2 or 3 big sites like your game, that doesn't translate into sales. And you have to be really careful about who you're really making this game for. If I'm making this game for, let's say, only a market of 2,000 to 3,000 people specifically, don't be surprised that your game isn't going to be on the bestseller list on Steam. And yes, we've seen games that there's a reason why I think games that aren't either politically or diversity charged games still sell reasonably well because they have great gameplay, and that's what that market is aimed for.
Yeah, and I don't fault any of the folks with the, if they follow their political beliefs or whatever. You can't fault them, but yeah, as the developer, you, like you say, you nailed it on the head. You got to know who you're making the game for, and just kind of go with that. Because you lose sight of that, then you're kind of done. You're just floating in the wind there.
And the games that do seem to work, I think, as a few people have said in chat already, that they're not hitting you over the head with it. Like, it just so happens to be a part of that game. Whose company targeting Quakers? Yeah. Or a car maker targeting the Amish there as well. It's just not gonna work. Although an Amish-powered a car aimed for the Amish, I would really like to see that now.
The Flintstones mobile.
Silicon Valley of the Amish. I think you may have just found the next show pitch for HBO there, Getter. But yeah, that's the challenge of games, that gameplay is as much of a marketing as how the game looks. It's just a lot harder, I think, to really gauge that. I think somehow we've found our way back to the original topic for this, but this is why that kind of analytics and something like Steam Spy does have value to developers. Because it's important to know that if I'm releasing a hardcore space sim game, I kind of would like to know how many people are playing hardcore space sim games. Like, we've said this before, you can get very creative with your game, and there are genres and designs that it's very hard to put a finger on, just how well it's going to do. But in that case, then you have to focus on other aspects. Like, I know, good example, Jake Burgett with Shadowhand. There aren't too many hardcore solitaire-style RPGs on the market, so you can't really think about how that game's going to do there. But what he did was focus the marketing on, the combat, on a strong female protagonist, on this, killing people with swords and guns, to try and make it more appealing that way, to try and market to that approach. And that's something you can certainly research. How many people are playing RPGs? How many people are looking for a game with a female hero, or for RPG systems?
That is true. I will say this in mobile, the analytics part, and this may happen. Who knows if this is going to happen in Steam as well now. Third parties are the ones that drive the analytics. Basically, you, as a game, grab their API, and you use it. They grab the analytics, and then they'll distribute it as they can.
Yeah.
But analytics on the iPhone on mobile aren't perfect because of that. It's just a variety of different analytics software makers, and they're all pulling from apps that they're in, not that they're involved in, not all apps. Yeah. So they're all a little bit. No, it is. That is a good that may happen. They may absolutely happen. An opt-in analytics feature.
Or maybe that could be what Valve is working on next. Steam. Steamlytics. Spend the $50 and we'll get you analytics for your game. Oh, Oh yes, King. There are people. Although again, it's very hard to read forums and market, but there are people who, if there's only a male or a female protagonist, they'll say, I'm not buying the game until things change. But again, you have to be really careful listening to that, because were they going to buy your game to begin with? And that's another quagmire or eldritch portal we could jump into. Again, keeping with our existential horror theme for the podcast. But, and again, I think to wrap things up, I guess I have one final point that's separate from this, but just for my final thoughts on this topic, and then I'll throw it over to you, Rob. When it comes to reading the market, reading how things are going to do, it's a never-ending job. This is why there are companies that do PR. There are companies that specialize in analytics. And to ask an independent developer to be the game developer, PR, marketing, analytics, playtester as well, it can be a lot of things to juggle. And as we've always said, if you can't or won't do something, find someone who can supplement your abilities or your lack thereof. If I'm not good at PR, let me find someone who is good at PR to help me. And if you are fortunate enough to have a studio where everybody can basically fill all these roles, then make use of them. You don't just want one person doing everything when it comes to this, because that's how things get out of control, and it's very easy for balls to get dropped. But
yeah. Oh, I was just going to go on what Getter said. It's like, I feel like what you said specifically about if you don't want to do these roles, then find someone who does. I agree with that. You do. It takes a village. Is the old standby. Now in terms of whether or not you go with a publisher or a PR outfit or something like that, you don't necessarily have to, but you do need to have those skills internally. Yep. So it could just be your friend, Fred, for lack of a better term, or who just happens to know how sales really well, but doesn't know games, or doesn't know how to make a game. So it could just be as simple as that. You don't have to go out and hire everybody, but you know what? You do need those skills surrounding your game.
Yeah. Do you need good PR to find someone with good PR? That could also be the case as well. Again, we've talked about this many times over, but that feedback loop when it comes to the game industry is real. When you do really well, it's going to lead to more success. And again, this is another point we could easily jump into, but again, as we've said before, a lot of the magic of the game industry is really not magic. It's about having the knowledge to do things correctly. Again, games like The Darkest Dungeon, Undertale, even something like Five Nights at Freddy's, they didn't succeed because of dumb luck. The developers knew their market, they knew how to do PR, they knew how to market these games, and it works for them. And the developers who succeed, typically they're going to use the skills and knowledge they learn to keep succeeding. And again, it's why we say that the cream rises to the top. When your game succeeds, and it's because you did everything right, PR, design, you name it, that's going to follow through to your next game. And then your next game after that's going to be easier. And so on and so forth. And this is why the developers who do the best jobs, it's very hard for them to fail. Again, even like a studio like Blizzard, you can argue that Diablo 3 was certainly the worst game from them. But they still managed to bounce back from that and make it even better. Like, even a bad Blizzard game is still going to make a few million copies sold. Nobody's going to argue that. Yep. That's Chris said. I'll just mail everybody back a serial killer's newspaper clipping card. And yeah, the developers who do succeed, it's not just magic or dumb luck or, them winning the lottery. It may look like that from the outside, but they did a lot of work that you as another developer or you as a consumer will never know. Or you'll never find out unless you actually talk to them. So, do you have any final thoughts to my little rant there, Rob?
I mean, I agree. I do want to throw in that caveat, that asterisk, because you can do everything right and still fail.
Yep.
And you can do everything wrong and still succeed. But yeah, you do all the things you're supposed to do. And just going back to that thing we were talking about earlier, and just enduring. I think that was the phrase or the wording that Getter used, and I believe it's very appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Enduring through the bad times and the good times, but doing the right thing all the time. Being earnest is a good way of doing that. Good starting point, because if you start lying to people and making stuff up, then you're gonna Billy Mitchell it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So tie that one back in there.
Yep. And again, once you fail, or once you get called out, it's time to start looking into changing your name and getting a new face at that point.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't heard from that guy who wanted to go kill Gabe Newell from that Paranautical game. Like, that person has probably disappeared at this point. And again, as we've said, the people who succeed right, they learn all the lessons. They jump through all the hoops. And if you do things wrong, or you're not learning, it will eventually catch up to you. Maybe not tomorrow, but again, the future is very long. Made him disappear. That's why we only say good things about Steam here on the chat. It's also why I say good things about Nintendo with my amiibo army behind me ready to tackle me. So that's why, even though I say I didn't like Super Mario Odyssey, I still like Breath of the Wild, if Nintendo's listening. And I'm sure Nintendo Labo will do exceptionally well. Testing, mic check, mic check.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Nintendo Labo will do especially well at listening. Free mic with every purchase.
Yep. And Evil Spirits as a bonus download if you want them. Yep. That's a good one as well, King. But the final point that I want to throw out there, in terms of some of my crazier ideas I was thinking about trying to come up with a way to score video games, like in my own little professional rating for it. So I was thinking about like a 30-point system of 12 points for gameplay, 12 points for presentation, and then 6 points for unique factor, and see if I could try and make something professional like that. But again, I just think about the whole Metacritic craziness there. And do I really want to open that Pandora's box up for myself?
Ooh, Pandora's loot box.
Mm-hmm. Or Pandora's Josh box. There we go.
There you go. It's an interesting... I don't know the first thing about really and truly critiquing... Not critiquing, but rating a game. Certainly I could just whoop out, four stars. That's my opinion. But an actual score sheet, I think that's really an interesting thing to tackle. Sounds like it's difficult.
Yeah, I know. And it's not like I have nothing else I'm working on at the moment, too. But I think with that, let's wrap things up for this week, because I need to go get something to eat after all the talk about food analogies here. So, for you, Rob, are you going to do any streaming tonight or over the weekends?
Probably not tonight. I'm going to try to get back into it as once the product releases and I have a little bit more time. But yeah, I think getting back to it soon. I'm still in my Sims phase, so I'll probably get back into my ARPG phase very, very shortly.
All right, and you gotta let me know when you finish Grim Dawn too, or if you get the expansion.
Oh, I have one of the expansions. I need to get the others. Maybe I have two.
All right. And hopefully you'll be well rested for our next chat next Sunday around 3.
Hopefully.
So with that said, we're going to wrap things up here. For you live folks watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to come back tonight when I'm going to play Tower of Time. If you didn't see it, I did post the spreadsheet for the grab bag voting early. For you folks watching this recorded, there will be a separate video up on that. Once again, if you haven't heard the news, the Discord channel is now open to all at the basic level. You'll find the link to it in the description below. Come out and hang out with Rob and I and all the other guys as we just rant about game design on a day-to-day basis. And one last thing again for you folks watching recorded, if you would like this to be, if you like an early version of this and ad-free to enjoy, VIP supporters on patreon.com/JWBicer get access to that. But I think that's it for me. So for you, Rob, if people want to catch your streams or hear from you, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. When I'm finally back to streaming, I'm at twitch.tv/IndieVoyageRob. That's where you can find me, and you can always hit me up on Steam or wherever. I'm occasionally there, just farting around.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Again, we'll be back next Sunday for another chat, and I'll be around daily doing random video recordings around my home for the vlogs. But otherwise, have a great rest of the Sunday afternoon. I'll see you all later, and until then, have a great night. Take care, everybody.